Hello YouTube, Sidekick here in my trusty A4E Skyhawk with the video to mark the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. This week marks 50 years since Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack against Israel on the Jewish Day of Atonement. In the mission today we're recreating what it might have been like to fly an A-4 on the second day of the war. We're currently sitting in our plane at Ramat David Air Base as the second element in an emergency alert flight. Oh, here comes a message. I'll explain what's going on once we get this message taken care of. Okay, we're scrambling to provide close air support to troops on the Golan Heights. We're the second element of the alert flight. We're Anvil 3. Anvil 1 is the first element, and they're already headed for the runway. Now, we just need to get this target data into our nav computer just a sec. Okay, we're entering it as waypoint 2. I'll explain all of that in a minute. Just gotta get the final digits in here. Here comes the rest of the message. We'll take a look at it in a second. Okay, we need to get rolling to the runway, so we need to be ready when we're told to launch, and I'll explain what's going on as we taxi out. By the way, notice I have the controls indicator down on the left side there because steering the A4 with the toe brakes is still a little bit of an acquired skill.
Rolling.
So, as I said, it's the afternoon of the second day of the war. That's the 7th of October, 1973. Yesterday, on the Golan Heights, Syria launched a massive armored assault against covering forces along the ceasefire line along the heights. Against all odds, the northern group of the Israeli Defense Forces held off the assault, but overnight, the Syrian infantry infiltrated the southern part of the front, and in the morning they were already pushing into the rear areas. Our ground forces there managed to cobble together some reinforcements and actually stopped the Syrians just short of overrunning the HQ of the whole front. But we had to pull back from the front line positions on the southern part of the front, and now the Syrians have moved reinforcements up. And they're moving down something called the Tap Line Road, ready to try and break through again towards the HQ. The ground forces are blunting the assault, but they need us to attack the follow-on elements of that attack as they come up. So that's our target. It's an intersection where traffic's piling up behind the assault. Okay, there goes Anvil 1 down the runway. Okay, now that they're taken off, it's all the more important that we get down to the end of the runway and get ourselves set up here.
Infield 1, airborne.
So let's just continue talking about the plan we're going to use today once we've actually got ourselves ready on the runway. Okay, see number 2 is following us down the runway at a decent distance back there. Now, like I said, steering and taxiing in the A4 is still an acquired skill, and I haven't been doing it enough as good at it as I would like. That's why I'm using the controls indicator, like I said, so I can actually see both how much brakes I'm using, but also the little yellow dot at the top showing the position of the nose wheel is really helpful in trying to get yourself lined up. So we're just going to do a little bit of jockeying around here to get ourselves straight. I'm going to take the left side of the runway, so number 2 can take the right-hand side. Move down the runway a little bit. The AI likes to come forward a fair bit, and I don't want them getting ahead of me. Okay, but we can start talking about the plan again. Now, we're going to use a standard pop-up attack, but since we didn't actually get the target details, and just now when we're sitting in the cockpit, we had to enter them into the nav computer manually. So let me explain how this is going to work. Let's just take a look at the target message we got. It kind of reads like a 9-line message. I actually don't know how the Israelis would have done this, but I'm kind of assuming they would have used this system that was kind of similar. So we're instructed to fly to our initial point, which is already in our nav computer as waypoint 1. From there, we're going to turn to 50 degrees and fly 17 nautical miles towards the target. Now we have a description of the target and a location that we have put into the computer as waypoint 2, so we can switch to it as we get to the IP. Once we're headed for the target, we're going to perform a sort of standard pop-up attack using one of the profiles we've previously calculated. If you want to know more about that, you can go look at any of my previous videos where we've been talking about pop-up attacks. Now, with the A-4, we won't be able to be as precise as we would be in a jet with a HUD. But basically, we're going to want to fly towards the target, angle off when we get to about 7 nautical miles, and then pull up when we're 3 nautical miles from the target. We'll be looking for a patch of woods and an intersection with enemy vehicles around it. We'll have to select a specific target after we pop up. Then we'll roll in, drop bombs on the target, and egress west. Okay, that's our cue. Looks like we are off. Anvil 3 is rolling. Okay, wingman is with us. That's good. And rotate. And we are up. Gain speed here so we can climb out to around 5,000 feet. Okay, we're just gaining speed up to about 300 knots so we can climb out and head for our initial point, which is waypoint 1, and you can see that the HSI is set to the nav computer. So if you haven't used the HSI in the A4 before, you can see we get the needle pointing at our heading, so we're headed toward the waypoint, and then we have a distance measure. The top digit is tens and the bottom digits is numbers. We're going to want to use those for calculating our pop-up, so we'll be watching that fairly closely. And you can see that the RWR is going off in the background periodically, so maybe we should chat a little bit about the air defense situation, because it's definitely going to have an impact on our tactics today. The bottom line is that we got a bit of a rude shock yesterday. I mean, the Israeli Air Force has always prided itself on being kind of the flying artillery of the Israeli Defense Forces. For now, we've always had air supremacy, and enemy ground forces were more or less at our mercy. Well, yesterday that didn't happen. The Soviets have been supplying the Syrians with modern air defense systems and teaching them how to use them. They had an umbrella of SAM cover that kept us from operating at altitude, and they had a large number of Shilka AAA vehicles and short-range IR missiles that played havoc with our air attacks. It was a bad day. We lost a lot of pilots, and we just couldn't hit the targets we wanted to. So today we struck back, or tried to. The heavy attack squadrons were out at dawn executing Operation Model 5, which was supposed to dismantle the SAM network. Unfortunately, our intel was bad, and many of the supposed SAM sites were empty. And the attack was a costly failure, and we took out a few SAMs, but we lost a lot of good aircrew. The only saving grace this afternoon is that the Syrians have basically outrun their medium-range SAMs, the SA-3s and 6s, because their advance has been so quick and they don't want to move those SAMs forward. So this will give us a little relief. The main danger at high altitude is the long-range SA-2s, so we can't really spend a lot of time up there, but they do take a long time to lock on and fire, so we can afford to do pop-up attacks where we ingress low, pop up briefly to find the target, and then attack from altitude. Now, we still have to deal with Shilkas and IR missiles, though, so that's why we're going to want to pop up pretty high and use countermeasures the whole time that we're up at altitude. Okay, we're approaching our initial points, so we're going to switch to waypoint 2, which is the target. Fly a little bit straight here. We want to turn onto the target heading when it's about at 50 degrees. So we just want to bear a little to the right here until we get it on 50, and then we're going to turn straight towards it. Now we're going to start watching that distance dial. You can hear that occasionally we're getting a tone on the radar warning receiver. That's probably an SA-2 site. They reach this far behind the front line, but they're not dangerous back here. We're just Their search zone, not their tracking zone. Okay, we're coming up on the coast. Get down below the radar horizon here, coming up on 10 miles to the target, 3 miles until we have to angle off. You can see up ahead, you can see the Golan Heights escarpment coming up. We can actually see some smoke along the ridge there from fires from yesterday. Okay, throttle to max. Distance is counting down. Here comes 8 nautical miles. And here comes 7, braking to the right, 20 degrees. Pulling, keep pulling, roll out at 70. That nose below the horizon. Got to keep low as we come up over the escarpment here. Looking for that distance to count down to 3. Here comes 3, and up we go. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Get established here in the pull up. Then we're going to have to look over the left-hand side and see if we can see that intersection. Looking for trees, vehicles. They are. Looks like we've got some targets that got hit in the last strike. That's good. That point of that woods, there's the intersection. Okay, now we need to pull up, get the sight on the target. Pickle. And time to get out of here. We're flaring the whole time. Get out and down, get out and down. Get a jink when we hear that sound from the Chilkas. Get a jink. Okay, looks like our work here is done. Still attracting some attention from the angry neighbors, so maybe we'll just get out of town. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you'd like to have a try of this mission, it'll be available on my Discord server. And more to the point, if you're interested in trying this mission in multiplayer, drop by my Discord server and let me know. If there's enough interest, I'll make a multiplayer mission and host a session so we can record that. As always, if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. And for now, this is going to be Syria.